the symptoms, those dreams are the best. Insist the books on the records from those we blame. Point fingers, 2 million, stay focused, that's what they said.
Yeah, 10% Reptile right here on WUSB Stony Brook from their album The Big Boycott, and 10% Reptile is the band, and that's Point Fingers from the album The Big Boycott. And the maker of this music is going to be on with us in just a few moments. Painter, musician, Damon Tommolino. So just hold your army there. Here comes Army Ants right now from this record. Yeah, that's 10% Reptile right here on WUSB Stony Brook, and quite the album from 10% Reptile, The Big Boycott. And we're about to talk to the genius behind this stuff, Mr. Damon Tommolino, and artist and musician and writer and all over the map. And Damon, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, Finn. How are you?
It's great to have you on board again, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for being back. Wow.
Glad you're here. And so since we just heard some songs from The Big Boycott by 10% Reptile, let's discuss that before we discuss your gallery opening. It's not often, people have music to discuss and a gallery opening to discuss. So there you go. You're a rare.
The moon's in alignment tonight.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about this particular project, 10% Reptile. How did it come together?
Well, it came together years ago, and I think it's probably been about a year since we've spoken last. And I think we were talking about me reviving something after you covered a little bit of the Glass-Steagall project, which was kind of a remote acoustic album. And what we had done is after that, and after people were coming out of their house arrest, they were getting into the studio. So we dusted off a couple old demos, and we tried to breathe some new contemporary life into it. And that's what you got.
So did you redid the songs, or you beefed up the demos?
We beefed up the demos. We had laid down other tracks, so we added to it, and we just tried to make it as relevant and interesting, and renovated it pretty bigly. Yeah.
and the same guys that were originally on it, or came back and did some overdubs, or how'd you do all that?
Well, it was the same guys. It's the producer, Michael D'Amato. He does that, and he's kind of like another band member. So he's like really in it. He's the musician himself. My brother's on bass, Marcus Tommolino, and we had the drummer Craig Piano on this one. It wasn't the same drummer as the Glass-Steagall project, and we had a rhythm guitarist. His name was Frank Calciano, just to give those guys proper due.
Great, and so everybody kind of most of them came back and beefed up what they had to beef up, I guess, here and there, and it sounds great. The whole thing. Did you do lyrical rewrites at all, or were
No, some of the lyrics are really probably I'd say on like maybe 15 years old. So we just kind of stuck with it. Is there anything different? No, just like pretty much the production and just getting newer sounds into that. So a lot of these songs were abandoned projects, and we just like kind of went through. I said we had probably 20 to look at, and which ones would be more relevant, more contemporary right now. So that's what we did.
Yeah, because it sounds very fresh. So it sounds contemporary, and that's pretty cool to pull that off.
Yeah, well, Mike does the magic, so I just kind of just play when the red light's on.
But I mean, even lyrics, all that stuff, it's really sharp. So, just tell me briefly, because there's so many stories about siblings working together. Tell us, how is it working with Mark? Are you at each other's throats? Are you all love and kisses? What goes on?
Maybe years ago, a little bit more. We could have come to blows once or twice, but I think now it's all love and kisses because, we just try to find the time with, during our little routine of working, family life, and that kind of thing. So when we do get together, it's much more of a celebration, and it's a lot more fun.
Okay, that's good news. Well, sometimes people start to tell me things they can't even believe they've told me about their siblings.
No, it's great, and there's a chemistry. I gotta say, like when we don't play for a little bit, and I guess the longest period was probably about the 2 years that we were kind of just like all hunkering down. And, there's a beat there, and then there's a rhythm, and then, we just kind of just feed off of each other like no time has passed. So I have to really, talk about that as being like pretty much the core of what kept us together for all these years.
That's great. Able to walk back as if no time has gone by. Right. That's a cool vibe.
Yeah. So that's where we are, and we're actually in the studio again. So we're gonna have a follow up to this, but we won't go there yet because this one's fresh on your audience's ears. So yeah, I was wondering, how would you place this in comparison to Glass Steagall? It's like two different worlds.
Oh, it's completely two different worlds. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole different game with this, and this is obviously much heavier, and the whole sound, everything. Your vocal attack is a whole different game in this, and yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Did you when you guys were doing this project originally, when you were doing the original demos and stuff, did you feel like was that your voice at the time? In other words, was that how you were doing things, or did you guys take a certain approach because of the project?
I think the project, some people would call it singing, you could call it yelping, but it's just getting that, like, just that energy. And I think as a project in a whole, we were trying to like embrace this chaos. We have overlapping leads. And I think it's the embodiment of like the uncertainty of the time then, and it seems to fit the picture like a puzzle piece now. So we just stuck with it.
Yeah, and you pulled it
maybe
off.
a little bit easier. Yeah, to digest now than it was even back then.
Okay, it certainly maintains its edge, and that's as I said earlier, that's quite an accomplishment. 15 years later, so that's super cool. So you're continuing with this project now, as you just said. You're in the studio. Are you doing other stuff similar to previous projects, or as well? Or is everything always in the fire?
Yeah, well, we have a couple of things that we're talking about doing, but right now we're doing another 10% Reptile EP. We have one really close to its mastering phase. We have another one that's close. Two that are a little rough on the demo end, and one that I just had written, and we're going to try to get that down and get some good percussion and a nice core to that. It's going to be another 5-song EP, and we're going to call it The Last Patrician. It already has a theme, lyrics and things like that, so I'm kind of excited about that.
And let's also talk about the process. You're talking about it as a theme. You're writing when you sit down and write this stuff. Now at this point in your life, when you sit down and write this stuff now, do you write it with an idea in mind? Is it a line that comes to you, and then you build off of that? How do you write?
I start with the acoustic always, and then whether we transform that into something heavier, something with a little feedback, that will happen later. But I always lay down the first track is going to be like a core drum beat, and it's going to be an acoustic rhythm. And when I sit down and I write, I'm just kind of humming melodies. And I guess the process is once I have the arrangement down and I feel like it sounds catchy, or if I'm looking for some kind of an energy, then I start taking pen to paper and I start filling in those words that weren't words. They were just kind of whatever.
Yeah, you were humming.
Improv,
right.
I do, yeah, humming, yeah, and then I just start plugging it in. And, I can't say it's like it's more exclusively written, like poetry put to music, but it's like the music and then where there's availability to put in, smaller phrases that hopefully it makes sense when we're done.
and that's a tough thing to do, writing like that. So, but that sounds very kind of like inspirational. And then you kind of follow the muse of the idea, the core of the song, and follow the lyrics from there, right?
Yeah, and as long as we leave it with enough breathing room, that's where we could overdub the solos. We could put, any kind of sound effects or anything that we find that is going to make it move along. Mm-hmm. And not drag.
Right. Tell us a bit about the studio you worked in for this stuff.
It's my friend Mike's basement. He has a home studio, and he's running a lot of the equipment there. He had taken classes, so he's arrived at the level of being a professional producer, and it's in his home studio in Belmore.
Okay, that's all right. So that's not too far for any of you guys. You're able to get there.
Yeah, so we pop in, and the cool thing is, if you're doing tracks at a time, my brother has a job. He gets home late at night. He's got young daughters, and he'll just pop over and just spend 3 or 4 hours just working out a bass line. So we're not really jamming for this last project. I mean, we'll get together, we'll have a couple of drinks, and we'll just try to figure out what we like and what we don't like. So that's kind of we make that decision together. But then when it comes time to the nitty gritty of just making it sound good, it could be hours to get harmony vocals on one track. And
right,
Mike has nothing but time. He's at this full time, and he has a family, so we're working around that. I don't want to scare the kids, especially when I'm yelling at the top of my lungs in his basement. So we make sure it's like a beach day or something else.
Very good. That's fantastic. The lyrics are really, really cool to all this stuff, and you've done a really, really nice job. It's basically you writing all the lyrics, right? Yeah,
I do the lyrics.
Okay.
And I guess you could say it's somewhat of a conceptual album, like the big boycott. If there was going to be any kind of resistance to, I think last time we spoke about this corporate takeover of everything, we're seeing that continue as projected. I think the biggest, weapon we have against the corporation of everything is to our buying power, our lack of buying power, if we choose to. So I guess it could be dark at times, as my art could be, but I think there's always this underlying hope that people are going to align themselves and get rid of their silly differences and just start working against the machine to a certain degree.
So you just provided our segue. Let's discuss your art. And you have you're as you know, a painter I greatly respect and really like, you coming through COVID and all this, when people couldn't see work anywhere and all these things, or people couldn't figure out a way to do it, I should say, that you have a nice little gallery show happening over in the Huntington area right now, right?
Yeah. I'm showing 15 pieces in this really fantastic space. I couldn't even speak on how newly renovated it is, but it's the closest space that I've ever shown to a museum. So it's the Alfred Van Loen Gallery, and that's in South Huntington. And it's a lower level atrium connected to the South Huntington Library.
Okay.
And I was working with this woman who kind of just found me, looked me up, and gave me a random email. Her name is Deborah Katz, and she's the curator of the space. And we had crossed paths and I guess ran in similar circles, as you know how it is to be on Long Island. Creative people kind of stay together. So she knew some friends that I had known, and she picked the pieces. I did have a pretty decent body of work. It's been 2 years since I've done that. And I think last conversation, I think I was just kind of putting all my eggs in the music basket because receptions weren't a thing.
Right.
And people getting together and the social distance thing, and, you know as well as I do that, it's all about the party for a reception to have a nice opening. So, that's kind of where we are. So it's like getting back in my feet wet and back into the game, and it's incited some new ideas. So I'm trying to paint every day now again.
Oh, that's great. That's good news. So she picked all your pieces. Did you send her everything, or did you send her things thematically that she could choose from, or how did you pull that? How did you pull that off?
Well, she had a vision for what she had seen. She was familiar with the space, so I trusted her lead on that. And she went to my website, and I would say where I have
which is
which is www.Damon Tommolino, Tamon, Tommolino, my last name, Tommolino, one word, .com.
Right.
And then you can find the whole collective of everything that I've done probably for the last, I'd say 15 years. 15 years, I think, seriously at.
So she took a look at that.
Yeah, and we're trying to find the common thread and why these specific pieces were, speaking to her, why they're resonating with her, and we found the theme to be people. She picked every single painting has a person in it. And, I could take a detour from anything really objective and go into abstract land, but she didn't choose those. And then, coming up with a name and the title of the show, which is Contemplative Thoughts, which is the first part of one of the stronger paintings, I think, in the whole show, is Contemplative Thoughts and Beer. And it's this guy just kind of looking down deep in thought, and he's got this, very astrological phenomenon happening behind his head, and he's got empty bottles of beer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we all get there once or twice?
At least. I'm not speaking for myself, of course, but it looks like the selection that, for example, you have posted looks super cool. And I was going to say that everything's a portrait, basically, of a human, and in various situations, that everything from protests to the one you just described to all kinds of things. And talk a little about how politics enters your art. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. People gravitate to that. And as you know, some of my work, there had been these protest kind of scenes and, people taking the street. I think last time we spoke was just after the summer of 2020. Mm-hmm. And it's getting right before the election, and people, to say the very least, were very unhappy with things and how they're going. And I don't know, we see a continuation of that. And, one of the paintings I could talk about is the proletariat state, which is something that I mentioned last time, but now that I see it up in this whole series for the exhibition, it really strikes home as to what I'm doing with the whole political protest part of this. And it's an Orwellian kind of phrase. It starts with there's the inner party, there's the outer party, and then there's the proletariat state, which is like anything goes. And I think when it comes to protests, it's kind of odd how people don't see it as clearly as I do, but a lot of the people in the streets are on the same team and the same side. And I think that's what people need to get past if they want to see any real change occur.
They need to realize that, in other words.
I would like that, yeah, to be the case.
Well, as we all know, any kind of unit looking for change is traditionally fracture. So it's a hard thing to do. You're right.
Yeah. So why the protests? It could really depend on the day I'm having. If I'm feeling horrible and something bad had happened, then I just want to get into some kind of conflict, and I'll paint that. It comes out on the canvas, so I don't, have to go to the gym and hit a heavy bag.
Do you in this particular selection here? It looks like a lot of, and I can't really tell how everything is because I'm not familiar with the physicality of all the paintings. I've seen them, but it seems like several big works are somewhat large works for you are included in this.
Yeah, and I like to. I'd say the biggest size I've created, and I have a couple in my collection here that about 6 feet long, by 4 feet wide. Once it gets larger than that, it gets very difficult to transport here and there. So I try to avoid renting a truck every single exhibition I do. So I have an SUV, so that's about all it could handle. So one was a diptych. I think that was one of the larger ones,
right.
And it was the Basta Stanza, which is this. I guess these people I guess this duet, singing in Italian, playing the guitar, and there's this couple where the woman's engaged and the man looks bored to tears, or he's got his mind on something else. And
it's a real portrait of a moment. It's a portrait of a moment. And
yes, I say the commonality of all the subjects or the people that I paint in this show is that they're kind of frozen in time and their thoughts are wandering, and that one momentary feeling, whatever it be, a feeling of euphoria, a feeling of boredom, it's going to transcend their reality and it's going to help them escape. So there is like that abstraction in every single piece, a flatness or an opening up of walls. The Bossa Nova stanza has this vacuum perspective that's so artificial that it kind of sucks you in, hopefully, visually.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I particularly chose that diptych for our little Facebook post today about the show. So that one was particularly moving to me and one I hadn't seen before. So quite lovely and poignant piece there of that frozen moment, you know.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. So we are talking to Damon Tommolino, and painter and musician and writer, and he's got a new show. What's the name of the gallery again, Damon? I have it down here, but
it's Alfred Van Loen Gallery, the
Okay.
Alfred Van Loen, and it's connected to the South Huntington Library.
right. So the South Huntington Library. Those of you who are on Long Island can certainly find that. So if you find that, you'll be able to check it. How long is it up, Damon? The show?
And it'll be up through October 6th, and then it comes down.
Okay, that's lovely.
Now, it went up Saturday, so it's really new.
Now, was there an opening party for this of some type?
We opted out of it
Okay.
because of the Delta variant, and it's to be, people being, affiliated with the gallery, being apprehensive of people sharing
Sure.
hors d'oeuvres or things like that. So we're going to err on the side of caution here, and I just plugged it virtually, which is good. So I'm sending people there that who like work and they're interested in buying. Everything's for sale, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 2 years since I sold a piece, but you can check it out. It's priceless, and you go on your own leisure. And I guess they're just avoiding larger crowds.
Right. And, of course, you guys can preview these paintings and have a look at them in case you are interested in purchasing or seeing them live or just seeing Damon's work by going to his website, which is Damon Tommolino. That's DamonTommolino. And just scope him out. You can just Google it and you'll find it too. But Damon Tommolino painter, and you're there. And it's quite beautiful work, very emotional work, I think. As a matter of fact, one of the paintings that is displayed is also, and this, by the way, is segue number 2, is also on the cover of the new of the 10% Reptile record.
Yeah, it's getting in the last word. And it's a guy who's in a street. There's very few people there, but he's holding the bullhorn and he's screaming his brains out. That's what we chose for the album cover because I think it connects with, I think you introduced this conversation with Army Ants. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like less of a chorus or less of a sing-along than it is this kind of podium rant in the middle of Times Square or something like that. That's what we kind of envisioned for that. Not that we do that, but a lot of this is takes place in this fantasy land where we'd like to see things and get resolved. So, so that one is definitely in the show. Similar colors, I think, that Deborah had selected, and there's a palette that's similar with all the pieces. It's like this blue off this ochre off this orange. So, I try to maybe do a contemporary Scream, Edvard Munch's The Scream, but make it more relevant for what you would see on Twitter.
Okay. And let me ask you. So you guys have to check this out. So it's the South Huntington Library. It's easy to find. Look it up. Go there. Check out these paintings in the flesh, because it's Damon's paintings are like have a visceral quality to them that, as beautifully photographed as some of them can be, never really capture the live feeling of it. You know, it's like anything else. It's like seeing a band live. It's always better. So
yeah, I tell my students that all the time. I go to the museum and see this piece in person, and the resolution is just so much better.
Yeah, listen,
don't bring your phone.
Exactly. And I went. You know, it's like I went to. I had taken my wife to. Only because it was a thing, and it was we could go out at a certain point. You know, I took her to the Van Gogh immersive thing. You know, which is stunning. You know, it's quite beautiful, very well produced, very well put together, but I always was. I'm thinking to myself the entire time, how many of these people have gone right up the road to the museum, in Manhattan, to see some of these paintings that we're seeing on a flat surface now? Granted, they're beautifully, depicted and everything else, but it's not the same as seeing the painting. And it doesn't matter how good the resolution is; it's not the same. So,
it's not the same thing. There's an energy there. And I think people who collect, like yourself and like myself, I collect a lot of pieces that aren't mine. There's an energy that you visit, and you see it. And you see it in the brushstroke. You see it in the imperfections when you walk up close, and then you back up, and then it says something different. And that's why I stay in the game, because like music, it's kind of have to be there for it.
Right, it's the best thing. We can capture things as much as possible on tape or on our phones, but it's never the same as actually seeing and living the thing live, and it's quite impressive. Now we'll change subjects for 1 second here. So your kids are how old now?
I have a senior and a 9th grade freshman.
Okay. And your hands are full. I get it. But are they back in live school at this moment?
Yep. They attend 3 Village. So one's at Ward Melville and one's at Murphy Junior High, right in Stony Brook. And they're every day. And in fact, that school district had been every day with masks. Mm-hmm. And we're in Syosset, and we have all the students. And you didn't remember how many students there were, because there were so many students learning virtually and were remote last year. But we have all the students in attendance, and we do the mask protocol, which seems like, at least first line of defense, against, variants, Delta variants, those kind of things. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, it seems like the way we could inch our way back to normalcy.
Right. What's your experience as a teacher during all of this? In terms, I don't want to get to too much. You don't want to necessarily talk about, but there's a lot of pushback on a lot of things, and I'm sure you hear it. Yeah. Yeah,
we do. We hear that now that certain things are being mandated. There are people that are less, I guess, willing to comply. I think that's in all jobs right now. I don't know. If you look at this as like us versus it, the virus, I think that it has people have to kind of be realistic and put their comfort aside to a certain degree, just to make it go away and stay away.
Right.
Because I loved going back out to restaurants. I like not wearing a mask and Stop and Shop. It was. I have asthma, and the mask is the toughest thing for me to get through. So I'm not a big fan, but we do what we have to do.
Exactly, and so it's tough times. Tough times to be a teacher, but good time now apparently to be an artist. So you're out there doing your thing. And you have any other shows lined up at this point, or everything is still on kind of like on hold and just melting? The ice is just melting, or what?
Yeah, it's just the ice is just melting. I'm just getting my feet wet again, and it feels good. It feels good to connect with other people, like-minded people, just the comments on the Facebook post that I had done is incredible. A lot of the pieces I am going to make available for print as well, so we could do a reproduction. I'll do like a 1 of 3 series and, sign it if somebody was not looking to spend the money that I worked for or it had demanded over the years. So, it's not even a sales pitch, really. It's just like, I just love it. I love it because now when I'm teaching about it, I'm also doing it. And I let the students, become privy to, I'm doing this. I'm doing music, I'm painting. This is not just busy work. It's not just like
right. And you're
a crackpot.
and you're a working teacher. I don't mean working as a teacher, but you're working in the world that you're teaching about, and that is a fantastic thing, because I think, and it's probably your experience too, that so many people, kind of sit back and just kind of, they have their job and they don't necessarily remain as creative. Whereas you are super creative, and that's a great thing to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to be current in your field. And I think once you're teaching long enough, just kind of connecting with the students becomes second nature. But they have to believe what you're talking about.
Right.
And I think, you want what you're talking about to be something that's for them and available to them if they want it. And you want that to somehow be contagious, that they want to see what you see in it. And, I have to keep, loving what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I probably would stop.
Right. And that's one of your gifts there. So that's a beautiful thing. So we've been talking to Damon Tommolino, artist and musician. If you want to check out his music on Bandcamp, you can. I think. What is it? 10% Reptile. You can scope out on Bandcamp. Is everything on that?
Yeah, it's available on everything: Spotify, Alexa, whatever you have, iTunes. So it's available. Bandcamp is where you can listen to it without paying for it, but there would probably be a fee if you download it. So it's the number 10% sign and Reptile, and the name of the EP that we're promoting is called The Big Boycott.
Yeah, you're going to search it out, as Damon just said. Just type in 10% Reptile, 10% sign, Reptile, and Bandcamp, and you will be there. And it'll also show you links to different things too. And as I say, if you plan on purchasing, which I highly recommend, because it's always great to support the artist, Bandcamp is probably the way to go if you're going to do that. I see you have a vinyl version of this there too. Is that correct? Yeah,
I was going to reach out to you and see if you're a fan of vinyl. And I was going to gift you the Glass-Steagall and the Big Boycott.
Well, there you go. Well, how could I say no to that, Damon, huh? And
you'll just have to inbox me your address, and I'll get you one.
We'll do that. But you guys can check it out. Just go to 10% Reptile Bandcamp, check out the music. And, of course, for Damon Tommolino himself, you can just go to Damon Tommolino. That's Damon Tommolino, TOMMOLINO.com, all one word. But if you just Google him, Damon Tommolino Painter, you will also find it. And this way you can, right there on that site, you can enjoy and get a look at some of Damon's wonderful paintings. And of course, once again, South Huntington Library, you absolutely want to check it out live if you can get there, and check out Damon's lovely, unbelievable paintings live. All right. And they're beautifully photographed on his site, but as we were just saying, ain't nothing like seeing it live. And
I pitched playing 10% Reptile to the show. If you were to go see the exhibit, you would hear the music, and they kind of said, no. That's a joke. Deborah Katz says, and I don't know if she's a fan of 10% Reptile, but she likes the art.
Hey, listen, we can't have everything, right? So you should play live there. That would be great. Absolutely. Damon, it's great to talk to you as always, my friend. This interview will be up along with all the links to all the things we were just talking about on our podcast tomorrow evening. And you guys can just search out Finn's Revolution Podcast, those of you who haven't been there, and give the interview another listen and get some more information if you want it. Damon, great to talk to you, my friend, as always.
You as well. Thank you so much, Finn.
All right, my
really
friend.
appreciate it.
Take care.